Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Eminem album entitled Music to Be Murdered By. This is releasing completely out of the blue, just like his last album, Kamikaze, which was the surprise follow-up to probably his worst received album ever, Revival. Kamikaze, for all intents and purposes, was a revitalization of Marshall Mathers, not necessarily to his peak per se, but just reverting back a bit to a time before Revival where his style was relatively fresh and he was probably the most recognizable rapper still at large. He was starting to come off less as just an angry old man that was bitter and hellaciously rageful at younger rappers, when funnily enough a lot of the tracks that Eminem was jumping on an album like Revival were uncreative, badly mixed, and tackling topics that Eminem had either done better on prior releases or just uninspired to begin with. This also instantly exposed the fact that Eminem fell into the pitfall of believing that if you can rap as fast as you possibly can over a beat that is flavored somewhat like you used to rap on in your prime, that means you're making good music. Whether or not you dislike or enjoy the SoundCloud cloud rap aesthetic face tat game of today, you can't really knock indistinguishable cloud rap for being indiscernible when you are making songs that are indistinguishable from some of your other tracks that are themselves indiscernible without meaning and just coming off as butthurt. This though, this is what Marshall Mathers needed. God, this is what he needed. I really do like this album. I like it a lot. I've lived through Eminem's worst years. I've lived through Eminem's worst albums. I've lived through Eminem's worst and cringiest moments. It feels good to say that because it's been so long since I've actually been able to say I enjoy a modern Eminem album. Because a lot of these tracks feel like Eminem is finally beginning to understand why people enjoyed his music in the first place. Being the oddball that would not conform to rap's normal style. Being the flawed outcast, having no filter, saying things no one else would say. Creating songs that were gnarled and were twisted. And I feel like, to start this off, I really do want to talk about the track Darkness. This might just be my favorite Eminem track that has released this decade. It is told through the point of view perspective of the Las Vegas shooter. The beat is very minimalistic, but it samples Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel with this weird sampled pitch-shifted Hello Darkness My Old Friend, as well as the pianos playing in the background. It's a very minimalist beat, but the way the beat does crescendo with his notes, it is so powerful. Think about Eminem's best songs. Think in your mind for a second the tracks that you think of when you think of Eminem. Now, they are all tracks that aren't really his most poppy songs. They're not the tracks that he raps the fastest on necessarily, barring Rap God, just because of how fast he was doing it. Think about his music as a whole. For me, some of the most recognizable Eminem tracks and some of the most powerful Eminem tracks like Stan, tracks like Kim, tracks like Mockingbird, tracks like Without Me, tracks like, of course, the Slim Shady. Notice a bridge, notice a connection, notice a pattern. And once you begin to realize that, you begin to understand the pattern of Eminem and what makes him so popular. He really is an amazing storyteller. Sure, you can get an overly sexual track, you can get an overly rambunctious track, sure, you can get him spouting off slurs left and right, sure, you can get his wacky, abrasive, zany style, but at the end of the day, he's a wordsmith that is very poetic in the way that he handles double entendres, in the way that he handles triplet flows, in the way that he handles very important topics. And in the span of about 4 minutes, he is able to make Darkness come off sounding powerful as all hell, giving you this impression that this person is lost, giving you the play-by-play of everything that would have went through his mind. The video is haunting. It's the first time recently that I've listened to a track that has genuinely made me shake. Like, when I was watching the music video, it was literally that big. On this album, Eminem isn't afraid to employ beats that are newer, that seem a little bit trendier, a little bit more inspired by trap, but he's also able to take some beats that remind me a little bit of his D12 days. Not to mention, he's bringing on some newer artists, or some artists that are hitting very hard right now. Once again, Ed Sheeran comes on the album. Juice WRLD, the late Juice WRLD, is on the track Godzilla, and you also have Anderson .Paak on this record. The features are hit or miss for me. I do like Unaccommodating. I think it's a decent track with Young M.A., but I think that he's a little bit of a forgettable feature, and I don't condone the Ariana Grande line. I feel like no one is. One thing that I'm so impressed by this record in contrast with Revival is just how bloated Revival was. Eminem has made a lot of long albums in his career, and this one is very long, but I just love the cohesion. I love that there's not too many tracks that drag too much. Those Kind of Nights featuring Ed Sheeran, I actually really enjoy this track, and that's coming from someone that really did not enjoy the Ed Sheeran track that landed on Revival. I love the chorus, it's slick, it's clean. Eminem's bars are hilariously, overtly sexual. Like, I want to just capture a little bit of the mystique of Eminem in this review and allow you guys to understand why Eminem has stayed at the lane he is in terms of wordsmithing. Okay. But she was so extra, called her, etc., had her like, oh my god, my whole iPod's filled with your songs, I mow my lawn to them. I said, oh my god, you know my songs, that's totally awesome, I'm Marshall, what's going on? Seriously though, jokes aside, how you doing? You straight? She said, no, I'm bi. She said, are you drunk? No. I said, I'm high. I'm checking out the chicks. She said, so am I. And can we just get a little bit of a bless up for the fact that this album is well mixed? I like that. Godzilla is a pretty run-of-the-mill Eminem track, all things considered, with a beat that's not super standout, and even though I am a fan of Juice WRLD, I really loved his album last year. It was one of my favorites of that year. I feel like his contribution to this track is probably one of his weaker contributions to a track. He's kind of just moaning over the chorus. Obviously, in typical Juice WRLD fashion, I just think it is fairly weak. Allow me to take a moment to talk about the track Ya Ya. This is a massive track full of a lot of people, Royce da 5'9", Black Thought, Q-Tip, all of them, but this is probably the one track that I'm not a big fan of the mix. Everyone gives their all. It's a hilariously off-the-wall track. It goes balls to the wall. Everyone gives a great performance. Love Eminem's verse. I love the ya ya refrain. But this beat is so abrasive, and not in a way that's like hard-hitting or punchy. It's just straight up abrasive. Now, even though the cohesion of this record is very good, there are quite a few tracks in the latter half that I think drain the track listing a little bit and drag the track listing a little bit. And it's mostly because of the choruses, like Stepdad and the track Marsh. Feature choruses that just give me PTSD of him slipping back into some of the very badly mixed choruses that you would have found on Revival, where he's just doubling up. And Eminem isn't necessarily the best singer. Sometimes he's a really good singer, but these two tracks are definitely my least favorite on the record. And a track like Little Engine is just sitting in the track listing. It's a very short track, and it features Eminem doing this odd staccato flow that I'm not the biggest fan of recently. He did it on Kamikaze to a lesser degree. He definitely did it on Revival, and I don't understand why he has to. Because it doesn't really sound clean. It doesn't sound like a crystal clear flow. And more so like he's struggling to get all of his syllables out in this specific way that he's trying to. Luckily, Lock It Up with Anderson .Paak is a definitive highlight. I just love the instrumentation on this track, and Anderson .Paak comes through and just, you know, he kills it. With that being said, Farewell kind of takes us a little bit back to that odd chorus territory. So overall, there are some tracks that drag in the latter half. Some of the features can be a little hit or miss, but overall, I am so satisfied with this record. I'm very satisfied with this record. Not just because I think it's a pretty good album from start to finish, all things considered, but because it's Eminem understanding why people like him, employing different beats, employing different features, and really kind of returning to his roots and his zany delivery, as well as some of his dark songs, as Darkness is probably my favorite Eminem song in a hot minute. I'm going to be giving this album a 7.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new Eminem album, Music to Be Murdered By? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss the record with you. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, stay for the end screen, I'll link to videos that you might be interested in, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is Jay Morse, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.
Go ahead, live your best life.